She takes a first stab at a lot of paperwork we have to initiate, like for the private lending. She will search for us for like roofers or plumbers within an area and create a list for us, or lenders. Any sort of thing that it's like, okay, we don't really want to be doing this. Maybe Kim can do it. And that's been awesome.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Workergenix Mastermind. I've got some amazing guests today with BBL Properties. We have Brea and Bostyn. They are amazing real estate investors and Workergenix clients, and we're here today to hear their story and hear how they've been leveraging virtual professionals. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thanks for having us today.
Of course. I would love to hear kind of how you guys got started with this business. If you could just do like a quick little intro and share kind of your brief story on what led you to what you guys are doing now.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and kick this off. So I started investing in real estate about 5 years ago, fell into it accidentally, bought a house as a primary residence, got a job in a different state a few months after that, and did not want to sell it. So I moved across the country and rented out the house. And then I just started reading a bunch of books and found out that that's how the most millionaires are made, is through real estate. And so I was like, cool, gotta do this like real estate investing thing. Fast forward a couple of years, I was continuing to buy properties out of state, but that is about 2.5, 3 years ago is when my brother-in-law Logan and my sister Bostyn, who's here, got started as well. So Bostyn, I'll let you chat.
Happy to be able to share our story. So thanks for having us on. Yeah, Brea, my sister, would always come over for family like dinners or the holidays and always be talking about real estate and renting out these properties and, dealing with tenants, talking to property managers. And eventually it kind of was like, okay, like, what is this all about? And so she had approached us, maybe joining in, participating as we felt comfortable. And we were like, okay, let's give it a shot. So that was a couple years ago. And Logan, my husband, was really into it. And I was like, yep, you guys got it. Sounds great. Well, maybe we'll just buy like one property a year. That seems reasonable. Over 20 years, we'll have 20 properties. This will be great. And after a while, again, reading, consuming content, things just started to click. And I would say about 6 months after we had kind of made that a goal, Brea, Logan, and I found a portfolio of about 6 single family homes. So our goal went from one property a year to a portfolio of 6 single family homes. And, we just continued to grow since then. And that's where, after some growth over the last couple of years, we're now here and utilizing some of the virtual professionals from Workergenix to really help our business even further.
That's awesome. So Thank you guys for sharing that.
Just real quick, I'll end with where we are. We have a pool of private lenders that we work with that lend money to us. We give them a 10% return, and we use those funds to purchase and rehab properties. And we also did our first syndication last year as well. So we went from a handful of properties to about 150 units in 5 years.
That is some very rapid growth and very impressive change of where you kind of started with the small single families to doing portfolios to doing the multifamily and syndications and the investments. That's incredible. So how did you guys initially kind of divide who was doing what, or figure out, individual roles for you guys? Were you all just kind of doing the same thing, or how did that work out?
Okay. Well, as many of your clients know, and probably as you know, Harley, when you first start a business, you kind of are doing everything. So as Brea brought us on, we all have very different strengths, and things were just naturally kind of falling into those buckets. So I don't think, I guess from my point of view, it wasn't necessarily like, okay, when we first started, you're going to be doing this. It was like, hey, Brea, I really enjoy the bookkeeping aspect. That's kind of detail oriented things that I like to do. I can do that in my free time, since we were all W-2 employees. Logan and I have 2 kids. We all have different things in our schedule. So I was like, this will be a great activity for me to maybe step in and help out. So that's, when we first started, it just naturally things started to fall into place. And then I would say where we're at now, going to the 4th quarter of 2023, we're really honing in on not just what tasks we like to do, but also what type of work do we enjoy? What type of tasks do we like to do? How do we like to do the tasks? How are we covering each other? Maybe Bree's the primary in one area, I can be the secondary in another area, or vice versa. Same with Logan and Bree, Logan and myself. So really even honing in farther on like the roles and responsibilities as it fits within our lives and like personalities.
That's perfect. Now, was there kind of like a breaking point or like a pain point when you guys decided, hey, the three of us, we're really overloaded. We need some help. What did that look like?
Yeah. So, and then just to give a little bit of context. So I started and I was doing everything. When Logan came in, he had a construction sort of background. He worked as a plumber or worked for a plumbing company when he was in high school, college. So he really kind of owned the construction side of things. Bostyn's expertise is in back-end processes, and I'm really kind of like the CEO visionary. And what we started to notice was we were just all stressed out with what we had to do. Like it wasn't fun, and we were putting out fires. And so about 6 months before we even hired a VA, I kept kind of bugging Bostyn, hey, like, why don't we hire a VA to help with the bookkeeping? And she's like, I love it. I love doing this. I'm like, but I like need your brain for like these higher level processes to help our business, because we would figure things out and we would grow so quickly that we outgrew our process. And so after about 6 months of that, I think Bostyn started to feel it too, where it was just like, oh, this is a lot. And that was very synergistic, because that's when I went to the Go Abundance women's event in February and got connected with your wife, Adrienne, who told us about the company. And I was like, Bostyn, we got to do this. So, but Bostyn, I'm sure you have a little bit of a different perspective on that too.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, I do enjoy that detailed type work. And I remember talking with Bree and Logan one time, and it was when we closed on our first syndication deal, September of 2022, and it was like 42 additional units. And I was like, this could get really interesting really fast. Yeah. And so I was so glad that when Bree came back from that Sedona trip, it was like, hey, there's this company, I'd love to reach out. And what do you think like we would need? It's like, oh yeah, bookkeeping, that'd be a good one to start with. Get just an extra set of hands just to help me, but not do all of it. When that kind of goes into maybe some of the aha moments we can talk about later. So that was just it lined up perfectly with their syndication, meeting Adrienne and you guys through Workergenix, and then where we're at today.
So what did it kind of look like for you guys bringing on board Kim, your virtual assistant? You know, obviously the bookkeeping was kind of a pain point, and I'm assuming she's doing more than bookkeeping for you now. What was like that process for you bringing on new help that was virtual and someone you hadn't worked with before? What was that experience like?
Well, I'm also in Go Abundance Women, and I actually brought this up to my pod on like, hey, how do you guys train and share information and give tasks to your virtual professional? And they all talked about just recording videos. And so at first I was doing very detailed recorded videos that must be done this way, and this is how I do it, so this is how you should do it. And some tasks are like that. Other tasks, it's like, this is what the end product needs to look like. Here's some boundaries or some bumpers, but however the bowling ball gets down the alleyway to knock down the pins, whatever. As long as the pins are knocked down, we're good. So I would say after kind of talking as a team with Brea and Logan and then utilizing my GoPod on some strategies, it was really just recording some videos, giving very clear expectations of what the task is that we need done, and then hopping on video calls to share screens and answer questions as they pop up.
And going back to your question with roles and responsibilities, this is definitely the area that Bostyn really owns, because it is all these back-end processes. So my role with the VAs has been very minimal. It's been part of the initial meetings. And then Bostyn is really the one who interacts with them through Monday.com, which is the task system you guys have in place for task tracking, and really pilot testing and figuring out how it works to communicate with the VAs as far as recording videos or detailed written instructions. And I think over the past few months, Bostyn has found a very good balance between the in-person meetings and then the recording of videos and having that type of communication. I'll jump in every now and then when something requires my eyes, but Bostyn's really worked out a great system with the VAs to get the results that we need for our business.
That's awesome. So, beyond the bookkeeping, what kind of prompted you guys, or how did you decide what other tasks to start delegating and handing off to your assistants?
We had a BBL, Brea, Bostyn, and Logan in-person tag up, and we were going through kind of roles and responsibilities, various tasks. For example, with private lenders, as a private lender comes onboarding them with various documents is really important. And before, during, and after the whole lending process. And we were going through like these different tasks that are assigned to Brea, then assigned to me, and then Logan. And it was like, Kim, do this? Like, let's just see if Kim can do this task. And so we hopped on a call and kind of walked through, and she's been able to step in with that. So now as different challenges come up or different tasks come up, what's been amazing is over the last couple of months, instead of it being like, oh, Brea, you need to do this, or hey, Logan, this is you, it's more like, hey, is this something that Kim could do? What do we need in order to like have her be able to do this task? And when that mindset kind of shifted, I mean, this has just opened up a lot of time that is now going to be filled with tasks that are more what I'm looking to be doing. And I know like what Brea is looking to be doing. So we've been asking ourselves a lot, like, is this something that Kim can do? Or, hey, let's just hand that over to Kim. And that's that.
Yeah. So to give some more detail there, one thing, it started out with bookkeeping, but now she calls the utility companies for us when we need them switched on or off. She takes a first stab at a lot of paperwork we have to initiate, like for the private lending. She will search for us for like roofers or plumbers within an area and create a list for us, or lenders, any sort of thing that it's like, okay, we don't really want to be doing this. Maybe Kim can do it. And that's been awesome.
Have you guys found any tasks where you're like, I don't want to be doing this, let's see if Kim can do it, where it was really difficult for her to do it or it wasn't a good fit?
I will say some of the phone calls that we have had her do, like Brea alluded to with the utilities, was one of my aha moments I had, was having her be able to call and not only get an account in our name, but also set up some of these policies with utility companies called landlord agreements, which would allow a tenant would allow us to put the utility in our name, then the tenant to call, put it in their name. And when they moved out, then it'll go right back into our name. So a very seamless transition versus this back and forth with the utility company. There were a lot of back and forths because the utility companies will require a lot of information, your EIN, mailing address, all these things. And so getting on the same page as to like, okay, when we call, here's what you need, and here's where you can go find it. So pointing Kim to that direction in those folders to gather that information. After a couple of rounds, it's now, hey, Kim, could you please do XYZ? And she pulls all the documents she needs and goes forth with the task.
What other kind of like aha moments have you guys had since really leveraging Kim and the ability to delegate? What, besides the utilities, the document prep, has it changed other parts of your life or how you operate the business?
So from my perspective, because another aha moment that came up was our social media, where when you go to events like GoBundance, when you interact with people that are just at that high level, you notice like, hey, they're really leveraging social media. And my background's in public health. Bostyn has an education and math background. Logan's in strength and conditioning. None of us are marketing and backgrounds or social media backgrounds. And so we were really trying to figure out, okay, how can we start to leverage our social media more? We'd go through waves where it's like, yeah, let's post a lot. And then we would get busy. And so that for us was another aha moment where it's like, well, why don't we get a VA that has that social media experience, building things out, making things catchy, visually appealing, because we know a lot of our private lenders actually come from social media and friends and family seeing what we're doing. And then they're like, hey, how can I get involved? I would say almost 95% have come that way. And so we know the power of that. And so it's like, aha, like how can we use a VA to solve this pain point for us? So that's been a really big one from my perspective.
So what does that look like with the social media? I mean, obviously they can't be walking through properties, taking photos and videos for you guys. What does that dynamic look like so that they're helping on the social media front?
So the way that we have it set up, we do a lot of the pictures when we are on site. So like Brea had mentioned kind of in our pre-call, we went to a town where a lot of our portfolio's at. So we were just taking lots of video, lots of pictures. We utilize Google Drive. And so we, download them all, sort them where they need to be. And then our virtual professional Michael will go in, pull, and we'll just point and say, hey, we dropped new files, new pictures, new video in this location. We have our other virtual professional, Kim. She will log in to one of the softwares called Builder Trend. And this is where one of our property managers, when they do all of the construction, they dump photos of the progress of the unit. Every week she goes in there and pulls photos and puts them into the Google Drive section. And again, we just point Michael to that area and say, hey, here's new information, new pictures, new content, ready to go for you to make whatever video. And then Brea has worked with Michael for writing of the posts and making the content, say what we want it to say.
So Brea, you're kind of helping Michael like understand the voice that you guys want to have. What does that typically look like? Are you just giving him full scripts or captions, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I had built out some content a while ago in terms of what type of information and sort of posts we wanted to put out there. So I had that built out, probably almost a month worth of content that we had never utilized. And so I had him take a look at that and say, hey, this is what we do as investors. We're BRRRR investors. So we buy ugly properties, rehab them, get them rented out, refinance, and then repeat the process and hold it to be a cash flowing asset. And so it was really kind of getting him up to speed and like, what is the content that they want? What type of information do they want to be putting out there? We really like to promote our private lending as an investment tool for people who want to be passively involved when it comes to real estate investing as another alternative as opposed to the stock market. And so getting him some content as to what is that process? What does that look like? And then getting some posts built out. And so now he's at the point where he's starting to create content and then I'll review it and give him edits to make. So there's still that back and forth. I wouldn't say it's completely autonomous. At some point, we do hope it will be as he starts to learn our voice, the type of investors we are, and the type of information we want to be putting out.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys sharing all this with us. If people are interested in learning more about your investing opportunities or just learning about the real estate investing in general, what would be a good way for them to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, so we have our family of REIs, who are a family of real estate investors. That is Bostyn's Instagram handle. So they can go there. They can find mine at BREA_REI for 5. So real estate investor for financial independence. And they can follow both of us, pick one of us and hit us up through DM. And we'd be happy to connect with people, answer any questions they have, chat with them about private lending if they're interested, chat with them about VAs and VPs, virtual professionals, talk to them about Workergenix, all the things. So happy to support in any way.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Really appreciate having you on the mastermind here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.